Good afternoon and welcome to Nominet's 2021 Annual General Meeting. It's now 2 o'clock in the UK and I declare the meeting open. I'm Andy Green, Nominet's chair. I'd like to thank you very much for taking the time to be with us today. I'm joined today by my board colleagues. Rob Binns, Stephen Page and Rory Kelly are in the room here with Ava Lindquist, David Thornton, Anne Taylor, James Bladell, Phil Buckingham and Adam Leach joining us virtually. We're also joined by Mark Bishop from Grant Thornton, our auditors. First up, I'd like to congratulate our newly elected non-executive directors, Simon Blackler and Ashley Bolle, following the vote that closed on Monday last week. Great to have them on board. Really looking forward to working with you both. On behalf of Nominet, I'd like to thank the outgoing elected directors, James Bladell and David Thornton, for their great inputs over their term on the board. And of course, I'd like to thank Rob Binns for taking on the role of acting chair earlier this year during a very difficult time. We've really appreciated his contribution and unwavering commitment to Nominet. Thanks also to Stephen Page, who's dedicated a great deal of time and energy to Nominet matters this year, particularly since the EGM, not least in heading up the nominations committee. For now though, here is the full running order of today's AGM. We'll start with Company Secretary Rory Kelly, who will formally open the voting for our resolutions. I'll then take some time to reflect on the past year and the future direction I've set out and would follow if reappointed by members today. Then Rob Binns, as chair of the Audit and Governance Committee, will update us on the financials before we open the floor for questions. Some of you have already submitted questions, but if not, please do feel free to post any now online so we can make the most of our time together. You can submit written questions or choose to ask them by video using Ask a Question button at the bottom of your screen. If you'd like to ask your question by video, please select Queue for Video Call. When it's your turn, we'll introduce you and please then turn on your mic and camera so we can hear you, otherwise it won't work. We'll then have a 10-minute break at around 3:10 so that anybody who hasn't voted can vote, and then we'll close the meeting. So over to Rory to take us through the formal meeting schedule, please.
Thank you, Chair. Today we have 5 ordinary resolutions. These are: 1, that the annual report and financial statements of the company for the financial year ended 31st of March 2021 be received. 2, that Grant Thornton UK LLP Chartered Accountant and Statutory Auditor be reappointed as the auditors of the company to hold office from the conclusion of this meeting until the conclusion of the next general meeting of the company at which audited accounts are laid at a remuneration fixed by the directors. 3, that Andrew Green is reappointed as an appointed director and chair of the company for a term of 3 years. 4, that Ava Lindquist is reappointed as an appointed director for a term of 3 years. And 5, that Stephen Page is reappointed as an appointed director for a term of 1 year. As per usual, I'm giving notice in advance that a poll count is being called on each of the 5 company resolutions as set out in the notice of the AGM, so we can count the weighted votes of all proxies submitted by members. Voting has opened and will remain open until 3:20. We will have a short break at 3:10 to allow members time to cast their vote. Provided you've registered in advance, you will have received an email with voting instructions from Civica. If you haven't received your email, then please contact engagement@nominet.uk. If you have already lodged a proxy with Civica, then your vote will stand unless your proxy is not actually present today. If you wish to change your vote, or if your proxy is not present in person, please contact Alex Loney from Civica, who should have already contacted all members attending today. Due to the complexity of our voting system, Civica have asked for additional time to complete their work, and so we will publish the result of on the website when we receive it from them later today. I will now hand back over to the chair.
Thank you, Rory. I hope I speak for all of us to say we're united in a desire to ensure Nominet remains a strong force for good in the internet community and in the wider digital world. The work the organisation does and the contribution we make is hugely important. The EGM forced the company to reconsider its scope, direction, purpose, and particularly its relationship with members. We've listened, taken stock, and made changes to move us into calmer waters. We do so while retaining our commitment to deliver an excellent, reliable and resilient service to the millions who depend upon us. Our aim is to move forward together as a public benefit company. By ensuring purpose is at the heart of the organisation, I hope we've set a positive path for the future. I know that rebuilding trust with members will take time. And it's clear that greater transparency and more effective dialogue with members will play a really important part in resetting those relationships. I'm equally clear that the registry must remain at the heart of what we do, that we must ensure all our activities align with our purpose, and that it's our responsibility as a board to ensure that Nominet strategy and our commitment to public benefit is clear, demonstrable, and well explained to members. We've begun in earnest to reshape Nominet. We're committed to putting purpose above profit, to greater transparency, and ensuring all activities are consistent with a public benefit ethos. These fundamentals will guide our decision-making as a public benefit company. They're reflected in the vision, mission, and operating principles, which we will refine in the coming year under a new CEO. And I'll return to the matter of a new CEO just before the Q&A. To remind you, our vision is to be a force for good in the UK digital economy and the global internet community, with the .uk registry at the centre of our work, delivering services that make our world more connected, inclusive, and secure. And a mission, a clear mission about what we do. We're here to provide a world-class .uk namespace that the UK can rely on, operate critical national infrastructure that is safe, secure, and resilient, and protect public services from cyber threat. Let me take the opportunity now to summarise the commitments we have made and highlight some of the key activities over the last year. Let's start with public benefit. It underpins everything we do, from the work the registry does to support the business that rely on the .uk domain, and the work we do protecting government services, to the social impact campaign helping young people grow up in today's digital world. We're now working more closely with members to deliver public benefit. We've recently introduced the Member Give Hub, and I'm delighted to say that already around 50k has been donated to 5 good causes nominated by members. We also contribute as an active part of the national and global internet communities. We're an active participant in ICANN, host the UK Internet Governance Forum, and work closely with law enforcement agencies and experts such as the Internet Watch Foundation to help keep the .uk namespace safe. In addition to our role as guardian of the .uk registry and as part of critical national infrastructure, we're committed to supporting those at risk of being left behind in the digital transformation of our world. This is formalised in our social impact programme, which is dedicated to funding a wide range of projects and initiatives that meet the challenges that young people are facing. Our work with partners also empowers them to take advantage of the opportunities that technology provides. Our work here is constantly evolving to ensure that we're able to respond in an impactful way. In financial year 21, we invested 3.7 million into the programme, a significant increase from the 1.9 million that was invested in financial year 20. We're very proud that our partners reached over 1.8 million young people. We've responded to the call to put more weight behind our efforts. Over the next 3 years, our public benefit spending will be around 65 million, with about 50 million coming from our reserves and about 5 million from our operating surplus each year. As a result of commitments to public benefit and making critical investments in our infrastructure, our reserves, built up to fund an acquisition strategy that is no longer in play, will be reduced from around 110 million to about 50 million over the next 3 years. We're confident that working closely with experts in their field and with a new public benefit board subcommittee providing additional oversight, we can ensure that the significantly increased funds are spent in the most effective and impactful way possible. Our recently announced funding for the UK Safer Internet Centre is an example of how our long-term financial support, about 5.1 million over 3 years, can secure the future of important initiatives. Of course, our commitment to a safe online experience starts with our work as a responsible registry. Over the year, we've continued to initiate and support initiatives to help improve the security of .uk and all of those who interact with it. For example, our landing pages pilot for domains suspended due to criminal activity, which is a registry first, is proving a success to date. Over 315 law enforcement agency landing pages have been created, each providing important information to up to 450 people every day. Our anti-phishing activities, including Domain Watch, played a central role in the suspension of over 4,000 suspicious domains related to COVID-19. And working with law enforcement agencies, we suspended over 22,000 domains linked to criminal activity. Our respected dispute resolution service resolved over 600 .uk cases in 2020. This was the lowest number of complaints since the DRS service was launched. All this helps to build and maintain trust in the .uk namespace. Overall, growth in .uk revenue contributed 50% of total revenue growth, with the remainder coming from new cyber contracts. The level of .uk domains under management closed the year at 11 million, while new registrations reached 2.1 million. This healthy .uk registry performance reflected both the world moving online during the pandemic, along with continued engagement with registrars on promotions, co-marketing, and an enhanced channel management toolkit. Members taking part in promotions are a really important way to keep .uk visible and competitive. And it's great to see so many of you taking part in this. As I set out in my statement to you, we are committed to running Nominet efficiently and to fair pricing. The matter of .uk pricing was one of the reviews I commissioned on joining as chair. After considering an immediate price reduction, it was agreed that a commitment to continue to freeze prices, at least as far as the end of 2023, was a more prudent approach, given the inflationary pressures that we face and the uncertainty over registration volumes due to the turbulence in the UK economy. Pricing will be reassessed at the end of that period. Our core infrastructure is critical to our renewed commitment to running a world-class registry. We've committed over £20 million to upgrade the architecture, with work encompassing both the internal systems and the external channels through which we serve you, our members, and our other customers and stakeholders. These are complex, large-scale, and multi-year projects. With this significant, having a brainstorm on my computer. With this significant investment in .uk going forward, your board's committed to ensuring that all non.uk services will not only align with our purpose, but be able to contribute to reducing the overall cost of running the registry. Our relatively small registry services business contributes positively to Nominet's overheads and keeps the team abreast of developments in global registry services. This helps to ensure our ongoing position as a world-class registry and a key industry stakeholder. So let me turn then to our cyber-related businesses, where we made some decisions that will focus our work more tightly around our purpose. Firstly, Cyglass. Your board is no longer pursuing a strategy of building a portfolio of complementary cyber businesses, and therefore has started a process to sell Cyglass. The sale process is complex and, like all these things, unpredictable, but we'll update members on this as soon as we can. We are, however, fully committed to the Nominet Protective Domain Name Service, and I hope you are as proud as I am of the part we play in securing public services. As with the core registry business, our DNS expertise is key here. In this case, it is at the centre of a flagship government programme. Over 900 public sector organisations and 1,000 health and social care organisations benefit from the PDNS we provide to the National Cyber Security Centre. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, PDNS was extended to prevent disruption to the NHS and private sector organisations deemed critical to the vaccine supply chain. We are proud that both NCSC and DCMS, the government department responsible for our regulation, have stated that they view our PDNS service as critical national infrastructure alongside the core registry service. PDNS has demonstrated its efficacy during high-profile cyber attacks, providing both protection against a spectrum of critical threats and enhanced visibility of risk across the public sector. Most recently, with the SolarWinds attack, PDNS provided unique insights into the extent of exposure and generated vital intelligence. This informed and accelerated the UK's response. As a result, the UK fared much, much better than many other countries. Last year, we were delighted to be asked to deliver a similar service by the Australian government, and pleased to say today that that service is now live. We also provide key DNS services to the UK Public Services Network, and all of these services are greatly valued by our customers. In addition to helping secure critical services, this work enables us to retain a high level of cyber expertise that supports the security and resilience of the core registry. Like any service, we need to continue to invest in the future, but we've also committed to ensuring the overall cyber business contributes to Nominet overall. Our plan is to make this business profitable during financial year 24, and the total further cost incurred before break even, including this year, will not exceed £5 million. Let me move on to remuneration. To run critical national infrastructure and deliver a world-class service for members, registrants, and customers, we need to have a strong team with great skills and expertise. We are not going to take any chances with running the registry and critical national infrastructure. As chair, I must ensure we have the means to bring new talent on board. But our people must be driven by a sense of purpose and the importance of what we do at Nominet, and not just by their compensation. The steps we have taken for the recruitment and appointment of the new CEO will ensure that remuneration will be less than in prior years. We'll review senior salary levels against a new benchmark, and we published our first ever remuneration policy statement, and we'll report back to members on this each year. We trust these measures, under the guidance of Ava Lindquist as chair of the Remuneration Committee, will ensure we deliver on our commitment to bring in and retain talent, but to do so at a fair and reasonable cost. Underpinning the commitments by the board is a clear desire to rebuild trust with members. I think when you see the questions, you'll see how far we have to go to do that. We need to increase opportunities to discuss and share ideas and to give members the information you need to play your vital role in Nominet's governance. The UK Registry Advisory Council and the Give Hub are now up and running, responding to members' requests for a greater say in registry matters and public benefit spending. The formation of the UK RAC is a promising first step to ensuring we establish strong lines of communication, discuss important issues, and help shape the key decisions affecting .uk. The Council is already considering the issues of expired domains and has provided valuable input to the new member community that we'll be launching at the end of the month. The listening process has helped to inform the commitments we have made to members, not least by underlining the importance of greater transparency in rebuilding trust. Looking forward, our first ever half-yearly performance report, which will be published next month, will give members greater detail on our financial performance during the year, as well as what we do at the end of the year. And in January, we'll set up a new technical collaboration group to share the changes to our systems and technology and understand what members would most value. But this is just a start, and a new CEO will be looking to engage with members across a wide range of channels on all the key areas of Nominet's work. On the question of governance, members have called for us to display best practice, and I believe that the Waits principles are the best fit for Nominet. Each year, we will set out for members how we've complied with those principles. And while there are inherent tensions in our governance model, we have no plans for reform at this point. If or when that time comes, it will be for members to decide what changes they would like to see. I think we can all agree that it has been an eventful year and one which has ultimately led to greater clarity between Nominet, our members, and wider stakeholders about what we're here to do and why. With purpose as our North Star, public benefit funding has increased significantly, and our business is centred on a healthy.uk registry, complemented by a cyber business that protects critical public services. Along with a commitment to working more closely with members, I hope we've set out a clear and strong path for the future. I believe this is in the best interest of everyone, most importantly, the millions of individuals and businesses that use .uk domains. Every day, they rely on us to keep our eye firmly on the ball, running a world-class registry that is safe and secure. If selected by members, I'd be delighted to be your chair to take the company forward. Thank you. I will now hand over to Rob Binns, Chair of the Audit and Governance Committee, to update you on Nominet's financial performance.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Andy. I'm pleased to report this afternoon on the financial results and performance for Nominet for the fiscal year ended 31st of March 2021. The audited annual report and financial statements have been consistently prepared under IFRS accounting standards and have received a clean audit opinion. In line with the commitments made, our public benefit spend for FY21 on the connected, inclusive and secure programmes was £3.7 million, focusing on digital skills, access and services together with the internet safety and countering online harm. The main registry business remains strong, with DUM at 11 million. Excuse me. For comparative purposes, it is important to exclude the previous promotional domains relating to the right of registration. These have now washed through, and excluding these, we closed the year up by 0.4 million domains. Whilst the UK has a relatively mature registry, the enforced COVID lockdown has clearly reinforced the importance of all businesses getting online to reach their customers. We are currently in the renewal process of these uplifted new registrations from 2020, and I'm pleased to report that at present, the early signs of the renewal trends are positive. Revenues have grown, delivering an operating surplus before public benefit spend. With COVID having a significant impact at the end of last year, we expected and we saw a recovery in the investment portfolio by the end of FY21. Although with COVID new variants, inflation and other interest rate concerns, the global investment markets remain volatile. So moving on to the P&L account. Revenue overall increased by 4.8 million to 49.8 million pounds for the year. Strong .uk performance contributed 1.8 million pounds, or just under 5% growth, primarily from an uplift in DUM, but also benefiting from the flow-through of the price increases that we saw in January 2020. Notable successes of growing the UK and overseas government cyber contracts, both our protective DNS solution and public services network contract, we delivered non-domain revenue of 10.1 million pounds for the year, compared to £7.1 million in the previous year. Our cost base and headcount increased to deliver this growth. However, overall, the operating surplus increased to £6.8 million for the year before public benefit spend. Average headcount has increased by 35 heads to 264 during the year, including the impact of the full year of the Siglass headcount. And headcount will continue to grow, particularly with our investment in the systems, process, and infrastructure transformation programs. The employment market for the technology sector remains tough. It is tough to retain and attract key talent, to support, transform, and keep the .uk businesses safe, and to grow the PD&S and cyber business. Below the main P&L, our statement of comprehensive income has benefited from the rebound of the global financial markets, delivering an unrealized gain of £21.3 million. We continue to work closely with our professional investment advisors to manage the portfolio to achieve strong returns with an appropriate balance of risk. This level of investment gain following the COVID dip that we saw is unlikely to be repeated in future years. With the surplus after public benefit spend and market returns, the closing net assets of the business grew to £106.1 million. Hence, we have exited the financial year with a very strong financial position to deliver on the public benefit spend commitments that the chair has made. We acquired the Siglass business at the end of last year with an acquisition cost of £4.9 million. As anticipated, during the year, we invested in this early stage startup network security business to develop the business and to drive growth. For financial purposes, we have to make a judgment on the carrying value of the Siglass business as at the FY21 year end. Inevitably, this is subjective. To value a loss-making business is inevitably subjective. With the benefit of external advisors and taking the benefit of an external valuation opinion, we have included Siglass at a value of £5.1 million carrying value at March 2021. The chair has confirmed that, in line with member sentiment, we have initiated a disposal process for the Siglass business. Given that the business remains at an early stage, this will be challenging. As with any commercial process, to maximize the potential proceeds, the discussions with interested parties need to remain confidential. When the process is concluded, we will provide further financial disclosures on the impact of the Siglass disposal to Nominet. This will be in the spirit of the transparency that the chair has already made reference to. However, please do bear with us on the process, as public speculation regarding Siglass could risk prospective purchaser sentiment. Please bear with us. Turning to the cash flow, we have continued to manage our cash position to reduce the level of surplus cash, ending the year with £2.7 million cash. Cash generated from operations for FY21 was significantly lower than last year due to the working capital investments as part of new contracts and prepayments made for the support of hardware for the main infrastructure investments, the technology transformation program, and the registry development program. Also, the uplift in capital expenditure primarily reflects the hardware kit that we have purchased during the course of the year. The key investment programs during the year impacting our cash flow included the following: the registry development program, or RDP, primarily with scoping work performed on the plan to radically overhaul the front end and back end registry systems. TTP, or the Technology Transformation Program, to redesign and renew Nominet's core infrastructure together with uplifting our security posture. Also, the development of a cloud-based PD&S solution for governments, and of course, Siglass product development. To fund these investments, we withdrew £12 million from the investment portfolio during the year. So to conclude, further progress was made for Nominet during FY21. We remain operationally robust in the face of the COVID disruption. We've seen growth in revenue generating DUM. We've commenced investment in the key RDP and TTP programs, and we have grown the cyber revenues. Therefore, I would like to recommend the accounts for approval. The robust FY21 closing financial position will provide the base for the significant uplift in public benefit funding over the next 3 years. With the uplift in this spending flowing through the Nominet P&L account, this will mean that in future years, Nominet is likely to report operating deficits. Clearly, the cash funding for this will be primarily from further withdrawals from the investment portfolio. FY22 will continue to be a further year for significant investments in these multi-year RDP and TTP programs across the registry business and its infrastructure. Together, we're driving growth in the cyber businesses on its route to profitability. In addition, as the Chair has previously indicated, we will also be publishing in December a half-year financial report on Nominet. With that, I'll conclude, but a couple of personal remarks on behalf of myself. I'd like to thank all of the Nominet staff and employees for all the hard work that they did during the course of the year. It's without their commitment and dedication, they're instrumental in achieving these results. So I'd like to place on record my thanks to all of the Nominet staff and employees. And lastly, I would like to thank all of those members that I had the opportunity to engage with during the course of the year. Obviously, as the Chair has already pointed out, it's been quite an eventful year, but I really welcomed and appreciated the opportunity to engage with members and get feedback on many of the topics that we've been wrestling with during the course of the year. So with that, I'd like to just close with my thanks, and thank you very much. I'll pass you back to the Chair. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Rob, and thanks for all you've done. It's been tremendous. And, this is really a crucial point that Rob made. The team here have continued to concentrate through a lot of turbulence on what's important, which is running a great registry. I'd like to add my thanks to them for that. As I went through my earlier bit, I referred to a number of places where we are looking for a new CEO to take forward the work that we set out. And I know members are being keen for us to make progress on that. So I'm really delighted to be able to share the news that Paul Fletcher will be joining as Nominet CEO in February. Paul is currently the CEO of BCS, the Chartered Institute for IT, which is a membership organisation of significant size. He will bring to Nominet vital experience of working with a wide variety of members and stakeholders to shape and deliver strategy. Paul's career is focused on technology and on education. He has a really strong personal belief in the power of technology to improve social mobility. During his time at BCS, he led a program promoting digital apprenticeships that helped restore the organization to profitability after a regulatory change that had a major impact on revenues. Prior to his time at BCS, he was Managing Director of Educational Technology at RM Education, an educational technology business. And he's held a number of operational management and strategic consultancy roles. He's a trustee of Southwest Grid for Learning, which is an organisation that Nominet has been proud to fund as part of our social impact programme. While Paul was not involved with any funding discussions, he's decided to step down as a trustee to avoid any future conflict of interest and to focus on his role at Nominet. It's really important that the Chair, the CEO, and the proposed strategy are fully aligned. And I'm really confident that Paul will take Nominet forward, not just solidifying our position as a public benefit company, but building the trust and strong relationships with members that are absolutely critical if we're going to continue to deliver a world-class service for all those who rely on us. Paul will join the Nominet board when he takes up his appointment, and the decision to appoint him was formally agreed by the Nominet board earlier this month. And after the discussions with BCS and the paperwork now complete, I'm able to share the news today. My thanks to Stephen Page for overseeing the recruitment, to board colleagues for their time meeting candidates and discussing the appointment throughout the process. Really am pleased about Paul's appointment. I feel he's exactly the right character of person who can really work on restoring trust. Now let's move on to Q&A. We're going to finish Q&A at 3:10 prompt so that we can get the voting process done. But let's do some housekeeping first. We'll answer pre-submitting questions first and then come on to live questions. If you want to submit a written question, please select Ask a Question followed by Type Your Question. If you want to ask your question live, which we're really delighted if you would want to, using your video camera, select Ask a Question and then queue for video call. When it's your turn, we'll introduce you, but please, please, please then turn on your mic and camera, otherwise it's not going to work. And before you ask your questions, please do state your name and your company name for the benefit of others. I'll now ask Elaine to get going on the Q&A session.
Okay, thanks, Andy. Let's get stuck in. First question is from Rex Wickham from 2020 Media. Hi, Rex. Rex's question is, earlier in the year, Nominet said there'd be something planned to commemorate Nominet's 25th anniversary. Can you please now share details of these, as we're only a few short weeks away from the end of the year? Thank you.
Sadly, it's just one of those things that's gone by in a turbulent year. And you know, the team have been really working on lots of other things. We've done the promotion, we've done some really good public benefit long-term things which we've put together, but that's it, I think, for now.
Okay, thanks, Andy. Next question is from Cypria from Weber Multimedia. Cypria's question is, why are current and past board members getting free domain names without an expiration date?
They're not, they're just in deep freeze, if you like, to avoid abuse. It's not the members, the board members are using them.
Okay, thank you. Next question is from Dan Rogers, Domain Registrar Services Limited. Why did the Nominet board at the time decide to waive the company's right, without any benefit to the company or members, to terminate board members without additional payments, in brackets, resulting in the former CEO receiving 300,000 despite resigning the day before the AGM vote? If I get, that's part of the question. And the second part, which I can come back to, how is this compatible with those directors' fiduciary duty to the company and its members?
So these are really difficult questions, and we'll each have our own view, by the way, on what we think is the right or the wrong course of action to take on these things. Of course, for Nominet as an organisation, we have to take a view looking forward on what, if any, even if you disagree with what was done, what, if any, sanction would be sensible, what would a court agree to. In my long experience, I think when a company is under significant stress and the directors are trying to ensure the stability of the company by making sure that it's able to retain the employees it needs to employ, and you know, make sure that the important stakeholders who are very concerned about instability can see a path forward. You know, it's unlikely that anybody's going to think that this was unreasonable behaviour. And there'll be lots of arguments one way or another. Don't get me wrong, these things are never straightforward. I do think it's really important to understand that, you know, when you vote somebody off a board like this, they still have some rights as an employee. And it would be really damaging to the organisation to be going through a long court process, for example. So I think when you're thinking about whether you personally think what was done was reasonable or not, it's important to bear all these items in mind.
Okay, thank you. That's like follow-up question to that, I think, from Cyprian. So will you publish the legal advice received on those decisions?
I don't know. You know, we'll look at the situation. We've had a complaint in, and we'll look at the situation carefully. Whether it's appropriate to publish legal advice is always interesting. So I'll look at what the legal advice taken was and whether it's publishable or not.
Okay, thank you. Next question is from Andrew McGregor. And Andrew's saying, every hurdle Nominet bad actors create makes the members more determined to right the wrongs of a failing board. Why is Nominet selectively asking certain representatives of its own members for a copy of board resolution appointing them in order to attend the AGM? Is it simply a method for the board to retain control and not answer to members?
I think it's a great question in the sense it really illustrates the depth of distrust that exists between members of the board. it's my biggest challenge going forward to how we're going to move to a world where, you know, we're asking positive questions about the future. We're all committed and interested in the future of our organisation. You know, this refers to an incident this morning where somebody who was one of the members who was standing for election, but who is not a member of Nominet, was asked to be appointed as a corporate representative. And of course, it's very important that we have some evidence that they, as a non-member, have the right to be appointed as a corporate representative, and we asked for that. I think it would have been really helpful if that was going to happen, that it had happened rather not on the morning when the team are flat out trying to organise an AGM. But I do understand that everything we do is under this spotlight. It's clearly wrong for us to allow non-members to attend and say they're representatives without having some evidence. It doesn't matter that we happen to know them. You know, that's the way cronyism happens. If you take that approach, you have to have a process. It's always a bit fraught if you do these things at the very last minute. And, you know, I'm sorry if anybody was upset by it.
Thanks, Andy. There's a linked question here about media attending. So again, from Andrew, how many members have requested that the media be barred from Nominet AGMs? And will you remove?
I don't think members have spoken on whether the media should be allowed at Nominet AGMs, but we are very clear that it's members who are allowed. We can always have that debate, but it's not been the practice in the past for the media to be present. There may be some members who would like media present, and I'm sure there'll be some members who would prefer us to be working as a membership organisation, but we can certainly have that debate in the future.
Okay, that's great, thanks. Next question is from Dan Rogers. Dan's question is, why does Nominet not return to using not-for-profit as a demonstration of going back to the original ethos, which members clearly support? So about the sort of the descriptor, not.
Well, I mean, our articles do not talk about not-for-profit, they talk about commercial. And so what I've chosen to do is to take the concept of not-for-profit and try to define it more. And what that means is we've said really clearly in the principles that we're not here to maximise the revenues or profitability out of the .uk namespace. We said really clearly that we will aim to create a surplus, but that surplus will be for investment in our social impact campaigns. And I think that's a much clearer definition of what we are doing and what I believe members want us to do than saying not for profit, which people can interpret in whatever way that they wish.
Thanks. Next question is from Cyprian. Why is the proposed amount of investment in the core registry varied so wildly in the past few months, from 4 million to 20 million and now 10 million? Can we have more detailed costs and what this proposes to achieve, and why is it being put to tender?
So the actual amount is not quite known yet, but it'll be 20 million or a bit more. The 4 million referred to a part of the programme, the 10 million referred to the amount that's coming out of reserves rather than being funded in the normal operations of the organisation. So they do tie together, but I agree it's pretty confusing. Putting things out to tender is, you know, a lot of this is work we'll be doing in-house. And of course, anything where we are using suppliers has gone out to tender, as you would expect, those parts of it. But, you know, a lot of this is buying equipment and doing things in-house. You know, which we do under our normal procurement process. It's really important stuff. You know, this is all of the infrastructure that manages when somebody wants to register a new domain or manage a new domain or do WHOIS or any of those operational tasks that are essential to running a great registry. We're at a point where we need to renew the underlying infrastructure. In other words, the hardware needs changing. We need to increase resilience and the information security capability to resist cyber attacks, which is something that's costing all businesses a significant amount at the moment. And we need to improve the mechanisms with which we interact with registrars so that we keep up to date with what other registries around the world are doing.
Okay, thank you. Next question is from Carl Heaton of Pike 10 Hosting. There's quite a lot to this, so I might break it down into
Yes, please,
into
one at a
chunks, if
time.
that's
Because
okay.
I'm an old man, my memory goes occasionally.
Can Nominet explain the circumstances which led to duplicate records being introduced into the .uk zone file on the Nominet tag with different capitalisation, which appear to be protective registrations for board member names?
I think I've already answered that one. It's not a question of that. That's just a question of stopping those being abused.
Okay. Nominet has hundreds of domains on its tag which benefit from perpetual registration rights. Does Nominet have a policy to review these domains with a view to releasing them back?
I think that's a
available for
very
registration?
operational question. We'll answer that in writing.
Okay. I think you've actually addressed the question on registry. Did Nominet receive any communication from DCMS in relation to the recent funding of the UK Safer Internet Centre? Was there any NED input or oversight of this donation?
As far as I know, we don't discuss our social impact campaign with DCMS, and I don't think we had any input. Yes, all of these major decisions on where we invest in the social impact campaign come to the board for approval, as you would see. And because we are going to be spending so much more over the next few years, you'll see amongst the proposals that we're going to introduce a special committee of the board to give even more oversight to that, to make sure that we are spending money that will deliver impact, that we're monitoring the way our partners are using that money and are able to report back to members on what we're achieving.
Okay, great. Now we're going to come to someone, I think Jim Davis wants to ask a question directly. So can we come to Jim? And Jim, can you flick on your video and your audio if you haven't already done so? Thank you. Do we have Jim? If not, I'll move on to another question, then come back, if that's okay. Next question is from Andrew McGregor. Members frequently see unfair practices coming from Nominet. You shared a hard copy of a list of members to public benefit to avoid an EGM. It backfired and raised the profile of public benefit. Even now, some members are barred from joining this AGM without some arbitrary paperwork that hasn't been asked before. How do you plan to regain trust from members?
Well, I think it is really important. Again, it's one of those questions which shows how big the gulf is. As I said, it's not members who are barred from joining without showing paperwork. Members show their paperwork. We know who they are. Of course, it's non-members that we have to run a check. I think that's true of all organisations. You can't have somebody just turning up saying they're a shareholder. So we just need to know. And when there's advance warning, it can be done very smoothly. When it's last minute, we have to work quite hard at it.
Okay, thanks. Supplementary question from Andrew. In order to run critical national infrastructure, members will not just accept anyone to act as CEO. What are you going to do to ensure members are happy with the choice of CEO? Well,
members will, of course, have the opportunity to vote on that at the next AGM. I have to say, it's important to understand how tricky it's been to recruit a CEO. I think in Paul, we've got somebody who shows both the deep operational experience we need to deal with a number of the underlying issues that we have that need improving, that members talk to me about, to undertake the renewal programme in terms of the infrastructure that I've talked about already, and to give confidence to all our stakeholders that we're running critical national infrastructure well. But importantly, I think Paul also has the character and the experience to think about how to do that in a way that members can understand. And I'm really confident that members are going to be highly supportive. In the end, you can't recruit somebody if you aren't able to give them confidence that they're joining an organisation which will support them, and that only a board can do that. You can't do that by going out on some public opinion poll to do that. I am really confident about who we've got. I want to just repeat something I said in my speech. I accept entirely it is the responsibility of the board to communicate with members and to listen to members and to explain the strategy and convince members that it's the right strategy. And Paul is the sort of person I know can work with me and do as CEO a lot more work than I can do to deliver that. And I think it's going to be a really good new start for the organisation. And I do hope members will give him a chance, honestly. It's important, I think, for an incoming CEO to have time to digest what's going on and, you know, people give some trust and some respect that he will do his very best to deliver for Nominet's members and for all those who rely on our services.
Okay, thank you. Next question is from Dan Rogers. Can you clarify what the differences would be between the UK RAC and the Tech Collaboration Group? Why not a combined member representative group?
So the UK RAC is there to really advise us on policy issues. The tech group is meant to be much more informal. You know, one of the things I've heard from a lot of members is, why aren't we running that interface? Why aren't we doing this? Why aren't they? And I think it's a really good idea for those who are interested in the technology of the way we work and the detail of that can have a way to input to these big change programs we've got and to interface directly with the technology people rather than the policy people in Nominet. I do think we need lots more ways of interacting, that we need people with specific areas and issues to be able to interface with the company. You know, part of what restoring trust is about is to increase the number of channels we have.
Okay, thank you. Next question is from Andrew Bennett. Andrew's question is, given the results of the EGM and the board election, do you think Nominet's major competitors should continue to have a 3% vote in the company?
We have a really clear constitution. We run a complicated organisation. Very few of our major members compete head on with us. We have some small competition in the registry services area. We've had really good service out of James Bolle, who's been one of the people who in those areas, and we have a very good process that Rory oversees to ensure that there are redacted board papers when needed, going to individuals to deal with any conflicts of interest, and that we exclude people from parts of the meeting when necessary. I think in a member organisation with such a broad group of members, it's really important that they're all represented. This is, you know, it is really critical, I think, that members big and small take part in the governance and that we hear all those voices.
Thank you. Next question is from William Poe, and William's question is, what does Paul Fletcher's salary package, please? Did you not think it might have been an idea to at least consult the membership to obtain some buy-in on the appointment in light of recent experience?
I think that's already, you know, answered. We can't consult members on recruitment in that way and expect to get a great quality candidate like Paul. Paul was, you know, is being paid marginally less on salary than the previous CEO, marginally more than he was getting elsewhere. He'll have a less big bonus opportunity and he won't have the LTIP. So the overall package will be substantially less.
Thanks. Next question is from Dan Rogers. Can you clarify if Eleanor will remain in the business as MD of Registry?
And those sorts of decisions are all for an incoming CEO to work on the team and the structure they want. Ellie's done great service, I think, both as MD of Registry over the years and is standing in very difficult circumstances over this period.
Okay, next question is from Carl Heaton. You mentioned that the AGM is members only. Can you confirm there are no other Nominet non-member viewers? Hope I read that correctly. And this recording will not be supplied to DCMS or other non-member entities. Correct.
There are other people. There are all the technical people who are providing us with the service. Just to make sure I'm not misspeaking in any way, we need technical people to provide us with a good quality service. So they're here. They're all under the normal confidentiality agreements you would expect.
Okay. Next question is from Andrew McGregor. Nominet now expects a deficit. Presumably that is due to the inverted commas investments and not due to running the core service that the engineers have made extremely stable.
Yeah, look, I think it's a really important point that's being made here. So the tech, in case I didn't get it over, the technology we run is in two parts. There's the thing that is doing 1 billion lookups every few hours, you know, that runs extraordinarily stably, 100% availability, and is in great shape. It's the things that, it's the systems that manage change across that need renewal. They're not terrible, but as with all technology, you know, it's changing all the time. You've got all these cyber threats and other things. You have to bring it up to the top standard. If we let it go another couple of years, some of the hardware will be coming out of maintenance. You do not do that with critical national infrastructure. So, you know, we're doing all of those things. And I've forgotten the question now. Could you repeat it? I apologize.
I think it was just about sort of regaining trust with members.
Right. So, you know, these sorts of things are crucial because we need to be operating at a very high level. One of the things I feel, you know, trust operates in a lot of levels. And for the main, I think our customers, our registrar customers are pretty satisfied with the overall service and the commitment they get at the operational level. Nevertheless, I think there are clear signs that there's new things that need to be done on that. And one very important part of trust is to run the service extremely well. But a lot of the trust issues we're talking about here are not about that. They are about a feeling that members are not informed about what's going on, you know, do not believe that what's going on is the right way to do it, that there are sort of feeling that it's being done for a purpose other than the public benefit purpose that we've set out. And, you know, that's why a lot of what I've put out and the board have agreed to is about what as a board we believe going forward. And, you know, that's fundamentally the thing that I think people will have been voting on today and over the last week or so.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to try and come back to Jim Davis. Can we bring Jim back on to ask his question live?
I do hope we can do the live questions. Hello, Jim. You're there at last.
Hi.
Great. Hello.
Can you unmute yourself if you haven't already, Jim?
Yeah, we can't hear you yet, Jim. You muted at your end? I think you're muted at your end, Jim.
Can you make sure you're unmuted? We can see you, Jim, but we can't hear you at the moment, but we can see you.
Well, I'm getting a message saying it might be at our end, so hold on, Jim. I don't know whether you'd like to put your question in writing, just we come back to you and try and make it work. But if we can't, I really would like to answer your question. So can you take another one?
Yeah.
Are you guys trying to sort this out?
It's not our end.
Okay. Next one is from Cyprian. I'll read it out. There have been a number of very serious errors have impacted the core registry recently. Examples of duplicate entries in the registry or renewals being blocked without notice or publicly sharing members' private contact details, etc., putting in doubt the integrity of the registry itself and its management. The second part of the question, Nominet seems to be a ship without a captain. When are we going to have a competent CEO? I think you've addressed
So
the
look, I
second
mean,
part.
really important to understand the reason I felt it was crucial to bring in a new CEO with deep operational experience who'd been involved in operating serious businesses successfully was because I accept there are a number of things. I have to say that, you know, the team are under a lot of stress and, you know, so we see these things. These three issues, I think, are all understood. They've all been communicated back to the people who have been affected. If anybody doesn't feel they've been properly communicated, please let me or Leanne or Ellie know, and we'll make sure we come back to you on them. But yeah, they're genuine errors and mistakes. These things happen in organizations, particularly at a time of stress. And we're sorry for them, really sorry for them. I think the people affected have all been informed about the actions we've taken.
Okay. Next piece is a comment from Dan. I'm not sure if it's a specific question, but he's just coming back just to say media present. Media have attended historically, and it was only recently that the former CEO banned them. So that might be something we would
Certainly
look into.
something we can look at. As I said, right at the beginning of this process, I chose to go into it with making no changes very deliberately, because I think at this moment, any changes can be seen as red flags and increased distrust rather than reduced distrust. And it's a real priority for me to increase trust between members and the company.
Okay. Have we managed to sort out issues to?
We're going to try Jim again.
Jim? Okay, let's try one more time. I'd like to bring him on if we possibly can.
Okay, we think the issue's at Jim's end, but we'll try once more. Hi, Jim. Can you hear us? We still can't hear you. Can you really check you're off mute on your own computer?
Or microphone settings.
We're not getting anything through our end. We don't think it's any, it'd be good if somebody else tries, but how frustrating.
Yeah.
Get one of the directors to speak so we know it works.
Yeah. Jim, can you type in your question and I'll try and
Can you
read
type in
it
the question?
for
I'm sorry,
you.
Jim. We really hope this would work, but as far as we can tell, it's all right. It'd be great if somebody else tried a video question and we can see whether it is Jim's end or it's something of our problem. But if you could type it, it would be fantastic, Jim.
Hi, it's Anne here, just checking that everything's working okay.
Yeah, I can hear you, Anne. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We might try and come back to Jim in a second. Another question from William Pole. Andy, did any of Simon Blackler's suggestions for hiring get interviewed?
Yes, one of them did. One of them came forward. They weren't based in the UK, which was a significant issue, and I didn't feel they had the operational experience to really deliver on the complexity of what we've got here. And some of these issues that members have been raising today are examples of why I feel this is so important.
Okay, great. Let's try again. Can we try and bring in William? William Pole has a raised hand. Jason, can we try that? See if we can bring in William, please. Okay. So if you make sure if you can hear me, William, that your video's on and you're off mute. Thank you.
Let's hope we're doing this in person next year, eh? Got anything else at the moment?
No, just trying to bring in William and Jim, and I think you. Oh, hang on.
Hello, William. Have you got your mic on, William? You seem to have a
Same
problem with this
challenge, yeah.
technology, don't we?
No,
Not hearing you either,
can't hear
William.
you.
I'm sorry about this. We really wanted this to work, but it doesn't seem to be working. If you can type in your questions, both Jim and William, really would like to answer them. I got six minutes to go, just so you know, before we have to do the voting.
Okay, I think there are no more questions in, except for trying to get James and Jim and William's question. Is there anything else you'd want to add on sort of how to build trust with members?
Yeah, look, I think this is really important. I hope, as I said, that you'll give Paul time to and a fair hearing on these issues. I realise how deep this question of distrust is. You know, any little thing that goes wrong is amplified because of this level of distrust, and things will go wrong, I'm afraid, and they're not always conspiracy, and they are very often cock up, as it's called, but you know, they are problems which would just happen by accident. And so I think at the moment everything is seen as a conspiracy issue. I hope we all understand that significant operations have difficulties from time to time. They're not all aimed to cause problems to people, and our aim is to provide members with a great service. You know, I think we've opened up a number of channels. We're going to open up some more. We'll have the new member engagement, I forgot what we're calling it now, but it's not available on the 29th of November.
Community.
The member community, I think that will be very good because we'll label the team to see anything that needs escalating to the board and make sure that there's a sort of continuous dialogue that way. And we've put in place all these other ways of engaging. I hope these things over time will build trust.
Okay, thanks. Thanks very much to Jim for typing in his questions. I'm going to read them out for you, Jim. First part was Andy's response to the Russell Hayworth question was disappointing. The then board gave up a clear right to remove Russell at no cost after the EGM, so it does not explain the loss of 300,000. It was used to try to leverage Simon dropping the EGM. Will Andy pledge an independent inquiry into this? And Jim says he is happy to volunteer to manage it.
Look, I'm going to talk to the incoming member directors about this and a number of other historical issues and try and work out what, with their advice, what the right thing to do is. I don't think there are many facts that dispute over what happened. So what the inquiry would be into is unclear to me. I said, going over the past is a value for learning lessons sometimes, and it's a value for reconciliation sometimes. It's probably not going to be of any financial value, and I think the company needs to be as forward focused as it can be. The past of the past, it was a period of extreme stress on all sides. And everybody's going to disagree about, as I said, about what their view is. You may think that's disappointing, but in the end, for the company to take something forward on this, it would have to have some belief that there was some redress. I find personally, we can look at it, but I find it unlikely that there is any form of redress here.
Okay. Next questions or comments, both from Jim. So two related. One was he's saying the facts are clear, it could well result in liability on the directors involved. And then the second point he's making is a slightly different one. Weighted voting may well fall foul of Section 5 of the Companies Act. Will Andy commit to getting external counsel to review whether it is legal?
We can certainly look at it. We don't think there's any issue with it. And on the first point, Jim, I have a lot of experience. I don't agree with you. I think there's zero chance that the court is likely to find that there's a director's liability issue in any of this. But I don't know how much experience you have. I've been working on boards for 20 years, and you see huge crises like Tesco's and Carillion, and even those don't create directors' liabilities. So I'd really be surprised if this created one.
Great. So I'm just going to read out something from Cyprian. We're nearly out of time. Be as forward focused as possible. His comment is, so board members and execs can make as many mistakes without any responsibility for the directions and actions. An independent investigation into the golden parachute is absolutely needed. I think you've addressed that if you want to say anything else. And then David Reader has a question. I'm concerned there's still much reference to profit. Can the board commit in the spirit of not-for-profit principles to adhere to the language of surplus rather than profit? I think this is important for framing and focus when discussing what best to do with it. Definitely, in any case, completely cease using the profit with a purpose line.
You will see we have done that. I think the only mention of profit in my statement is to say we're not going to run the .uk namespace for revenue, to maximise revenue and profit, which I think is a fair thing to say. I mean, we've been really clear on this. We intend to run the .uk namespace at a surplus, and that the purpose of that surplus is to go into social impact. And we are a purpose driven company. And so I think, I think we've really done that. But it just shows, I think, how often we have a responsibility to say these things and how many times we need to make sure that we are repeating ourselves and ensuring everybody has an opportunity to understand because not everybody's going to want to read what I wrote. I understand that, and we need to use all the channels and keep repeating the message. But I hope those of you who have read my message might spread the word that we're not here for profit. Great, look, time is up for Q&A. We now have a 10-minute break to ensure that anybody who wants to vote can vote. And then I will come back to close the AGM. So that 10 minutes has now started. Just to say, if you have questions you don't think you've been able to put, please get them to us. We'll answer them in our monthly sessions. We'll answer them in writing. We're not trying to hide away from any questions. Give the time over to some voting. Thank you.